Brodes Media.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Brodes. It feels like it's been 8,000 years since the Eagles last took the field, and I'm fucking starving for it, all right? And the fact that you get to face Pat Mahomes, Andy Reid, Kansas City in their stadium to put them down 0-2, what a hole to start the year. I'm salivating thinking of that. I'm also picturing Jalen Carter making a statement to the entire locker room. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for what transpired last week. He's going to eat Pat Mahomes alive! Alive! They're not going to know what's coming. I watched Justin Herbert use his legs, scramble, take advantage late to secure a W. And I don't anticipate seeing anything different from Jalen Hurts. When you literally think about this, football-wise, X's and O's, scheme, the best talent, I feel the same exact way as I felt heading into Super Bowl 59. The Eagles are the better team. Let's start there. Forget desperation. Forget how many times Andy Reid has been 0-2 in his career with Pat. Forget all that stuff. Forget it all. Who's better? Who's more available? Because that matters. Timing matters. If you face the Denver Broncos, but they don't have Bo Nix and 6 starters, or you face the Denver Broncos and they have Bo Nix and all their starters, timing of the season matters. Right now, no Rice, and Xavier Worthy is hurt. And part of the reason why he's hurt is because Travis Kelce is 75 years old. He's no longer in his prime, and clearly not running the proper routes to the point where he's injuring his own teammates. But that's a product of not being 22, 23 anymore. This dude, while still has something left in the tank, it's not a lot. And I don't know what the Chiefs are going to be long-term. Last year, they didn't even look superstar-esque, but they just kept winning. Maybe they don't win at the same clip. Maybe that part of their DNA continues to fizzle out, and they're still a good team, or they're still a okay team, but they're not the holy shit, it's the Chiefs. Because I know for damn sure I don't feel that level of fear when I see that logo and when I see Pat Mahomes anymore. Yes, he's still clutch. Yes, he's still Pat Mahomes. But sometimes you need a reset. Sometimes you need a refresh. And Andy Reid, I was listening to Rob Ellis and Mike Sealski, who do their Saturday morning show on WIP. You blink and you realize real quick that Andy Reid has now been in Kansas City essentially the same amount of time where it started to unfold in Philadelphia. And that doesn't mean it's just going to collapse and they're going to be a 3-win football team. But there is something to be said about, hey, we're playing in that 13, 14-year range in one town. Andy Reid is sharp. Andy Reid is super intelligent. He's a phenomenal coach. But just like I think Mike Tomlin is a phenomenal coach, at some point, there is a message that essentially kind of runs its course. I'm not saying we are there yet, but you do start at this length of time to at least bring it up in some version of dialogue. Are we there? I think we're closer to being in those conversations than not. And maybe it just takes a 1 or 2 year reboot, and you got to restructure things with weapons, and you got to think about Travis Kelce's age, and they tried to attack their offensive line with the big-time player out of Ohio State, and that's a new way to get some new life and new energy with protection, but there's a big difference about slotting that in year one, having dominance, and then watching that develop over a few years to get to where you need it to be. I just think the Eagles are that much better right now. It's that simple. We don't need to overcomplicate it. Think about it. Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, Jahad Campbell, Zach Bond, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, after what he did last week, he's probably huffing and puffing on the sidelines. You take away some of those snaps that he had to play for Jalen Carter's absence, and he's probably has more pop. He probably has more juice if you're going to take away some of those snaps because you just played so damn much that less is more in a way. And maybe you can actually bring down the quarterback this time instead of getting super close to Dak Prescott. He actually puts his ass in the turf. Maybe the football comes loose. Q. You're devaluing all of that. Vic Fangio. If you don't see a clear advantage in talent between the Eagles and Chiefs in this Week 2 matchup, and I do think the Eagles are desperate. Not the same 0-1 desperate, but their own way of desperation. Last year's 2-2 start was ugly. They do a great job of getting punched in the mouth and answering the bell. But there is a verge of desperation of people are looking at the Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love and Micah Parsons, and they're slurping away. Fuck out of here with that shit. Fuck out of here. See what I'm saying? It's a desperation to prove people wrong. Whether they should care about outside noise, whether they make it seem publicly that they care about outside noise and they don't, or they actually do and they hide it. I don't care. Clearly they get motivated by outside sources. That's why Jalen is as special and unique as he is. But I mentioned a lot of the greatness on this team. And I mentioned A.J. Brown and Devontae, and some may think, well, Brodes, they can't even get A.J. Brown the ball. Yes, I thought it was strange for a first-time play caller to have a little bit of some struggles with getting AJ targets, and the fact that he got his first one with about a minute and change left in the action caught me by surprise, without a doubt. But here's AJ Brown, and the reason why this is so important is we could apply this to a chess match that Spags might be throwing around for this upcoming Sunday. This is why AJ Brown didn't get the day that maybe a lot of us thought we'd see.
I got zoned the entire game. I didn't get not one single man rep. So obviously there won't be any separation. And I'm not hurt and I wasn't a decoy, just kind of how the game went,
So that was A.J. Brown on Jordan Schultz's podcast saying it was all about the way Dallas defended them. And when the All-22 tape people started to break down the game and post clips on social and this and that, and I'm talking about, the ones that do it at a very high level, they were all saying it wasn't there. It wasn't as if there were all these opportunities and all these throws and Jalen was bailing or he was not throwing it or anything like that. So credit to the Cowboys for clearly thinking, okay, what we need to do is try to take AJ out of the game. And they did that. So now it's Spags' job to either duplicate that or do what Spags wants to do. Now, he's very intelligent. He's going to look at what was so efficient on Dallas's side, and I'm sure he's going to challenge the Eagles and say, okay, do you have an answer to this? But I think the Eagles coaching staff probably will have an answer to that, knowing that Spags might go in that direction. So that's trusting our coaching staff, because that's what good coaching staffs do. Jalen Hurts, trusting the player, the quarterback, him operating the line of scrimmage and checking out of plays when something is thrown his way. That's what this is all about, the chess match. But also, this is when things get a little sticky. What if they run the football better? What if Saquon Barkley starts to get going and grooving and doing his thing? Or do they sell their soul to stop Saquon first? Because if they allow him to get any sort of magic or any sort of confidence and arrogance with the football in his hands, then it could be game over. So maybe they're so glued to that it opens up everything again. And when it opens up everything, here's the truth. It's 40-6 in the biggest game, in the big dance. And just as much as Jalen Carter is angry and he's going to be playing mean, Saquon wasn't cooking. And one thing I would like to see more from maybe is the offensive line in that respect of just, the guard play and Landon Dickerson. Maybe there's something to that. A little banged up, a little new with Tyler Steen and week one. I'm just spitballing here, but maybe as our offensive line gets into rhythm and into a groove, we can start seeing maybe the ground and pound game start to take that next step. But how is Spags going to do this? And I was listening to Dave Zangaro, and he brought up stats from week 1 in Brazil against the Chargers. And Spags ran about a 80% zone in the first half and about 30-something% in the second half. So what version do we get of Spags? Do you try and do exactly and duplicate exactly what Dallas did to take out the star number 1 wide receiver and see how long that can last before Jalen Hurts dices you up in some way, shape, or form? Or do you just do totally something different? And I'm sure they've been sitting on a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, those Super Bowl highlights or lowlights in their eyes, in their view. And they're like, I would have done this differently. I would have done X, Y, and Z. And now they just try to apply X, Y, and Z and what they should have done in the Super Bowl, knowing what the outcome was. It's fascinating to think about. It's also fascinating to think about how much Za'Darius Smith is going to impact this pass rush. Apparently, Josh Uche had one of the best reps of all of last week for the Eagles. And if that's the case, then that's pretty alarming. So you get Za'Darius Smith, who has bounced around a little bit in his career, but I still think he's got a lot of pop left. He had 9 sacks, last year. And I do think the entire identity of this defense changes with the presence of number 98. I'm not telling you something you don't know, but it's one of those things where I think you forget how elite and lethal this thing is. I mean, that's the staple. That's the horse. That's the one that starts everything. That's losing a big offensive player if you flip it to the other side of the field. Imagine playing a game with no Saquon. Imagine playing a game with no AJ. And I mean, like, actually no AJ. Not he just didn't get targeted. I mean, because you had to emphasize not allowing the Eagles to target him so much that impacts your game plan. Imagine not having him on the field. That's Jalen Carter. And by the way, they processed having it. There's a difference if you know on a Wednesday that this player isn't going to be there and healthy and available for you for Sunday. You could put game plans together. You can prepare. That Jalen Carter thing came out of left field. It came out of no man's land. So on the fly, you had to adjust, and now guys like Jordan Davis are just playing so many ridiculous snaps right into the new Peloton Davis era. It's crazy. But I do think Za'Darius Smith's going to help, and he's going to get the benefit of everybody having their eyes glued on number 98. And I'm really looking forward to it because I think he's going to make a serious statement to his teammates. Everyone talks about how much they spoke behind closed doors and they know it's not going to happen again and leadership qualities and this and that and the future for Jalen Carter and the whole shebang. And there was a part of me that wondered, is there something about Brandon Graham not being here? And Brandon Graham being the guy that's getting in everybody's face and talking trash and lighting up the teammate a little, or, you know, not lighting up the team, but sparking the team, trying to light a fire under their rear end, running their mouth. Did he get carried away? Was he searching to replace Brandon Graham? Which you can't really replace Brandon Graham, but there was something about that arrogance, that cockiness, that annoying presence. He irritated others. Now, by the end of the career, I think people just respected BG so damn much that maybe there was just an appreciation for what he does kind of thing. But was he trying to fill that void and just went way too overboard in attempt number 1? That wouldn't surprise me if that's something that we learn. You know what else won't surprise me? If you end up going to DraftKings and having a nice day at the office, cashing out on some Sunday bets, on some Saturday bets with college football, baseball bets with your Fightin' Phils. Your season, your shot. The NFL season is rolling, and every touchdown can bring you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. From first touchdown score to anytime touchdown props or the thrill of live in-game betting, every snap is loaded with opportunity. So, take a look at Eagles-Chiefs. Anytime touchdown, Jalen Hurts. Over, under, Saquon Barkley rushing yards. Devontae Smith. You name it. So many opportunities for you. And new customers, this one is for you. Bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, score over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Brodes. That's code Brodes to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first $5 bet. Plus, over $200 $10 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boudreaux Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Fees may apply in Illinois. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday Ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday Ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday Ticket/terms. Limited time offer. So a couple of other things I want to hit on, but I guess I want to play this first. So this was Nick Sirianni. You know how sometimes they post on social media, Eagles Unscripted, and you can see behind the scenes on what went down that week and all that stuff. There's some stumbling over the words, if you will, but I think that's just part of who Nick Sirianni is. Listen to this message. It's about 40 seconds. It's him hyping up the team. I love this. I love the message. I love what he's saying. And this was Nick with some strong words prior to week one.
There's something dangerous about a team that doesn't stop coming after you. This is a skill. Playing hard is a skill, right? It's a skill. It's a learned trait. It carries over, like I said, with everything, right? That's got to be our identity. We got to look, teams have got to put us on tape and say, this team plays its ass off. They keep coming after you no matter what. That's what an identity of a tough team is, right? The physical toughness, the mental toughness, and the relentless effort. I want this to set the stage of who the we are.
Dude, I love that. I really do. Outside of the couple little hiccups here and there, but that's it. I think those guys probably tuned that stuff out. You know, and all jokes aside, I when I say tune that stuff out, not the message, but just a little, little hiccups here and hiccups there. But all jokes aside, when I hear it, I always wondered what Nick was like behind closed doors. And this isn't the first time we've ever seen behind the scenes coverage or anything, but like that's strong. That's leading 53 men. The work ethic, it's a skill. You gotta embrace it. Like there's something special and difficult about having that work ethic, and you gotta realize that we have to sink this into your bone marrow and make it a part of who you are. So when other teams realize the Eagles are coming to town, they're thinking, fuck, this is gonna be a battle. Fuck, this is gonna be war. Holy shit, this is gonna be tense. And that's the fear that strikes the eyes of every other player. You gotta think, damn it, I got to deal with Jalen picking apart my defense if I'm a defensive coordinator, which that kind of goes hand in hand. I know I'm dancing around here with certain audio clips, but Tom Brady was on with Colin Cowherd, and Tom Brady spoke about just the importance of quarterback play. I mean, this thing was about 5 minutes long and it's going viral, but there's a 40-second clip. And then also Greg Cassell on the Ross Tucker pod talked about the greatness and the smarts of Jalen. And like that's when it comes to work ethic and all on the field, yes, but Jalen takes it to the nth degree. Jalen takes it to the craft. Jalen takes it to studying the tape every day in the NovaCare complex, being obsessed with it. Can't think about anything else but improving. Being on the phone with Peyton Manning for hours, picking his brain. And I said this loosely about a week ago, and I just want to put it to light again. I'm aware that he's a Jordan brand athlete. But when was the last time you saw Michael Jordan at a game that wasn't UNC or wasn't the Charlotte Hornets as a guest on behalf of somebody else? He doesn't do that. Not from my knowledge. He did that for Jalen. Jalen had Michael Jordan in his booth as his guest to watch game one against the Cowboys. This dude's different. Michael Jordan realizes that. And what Tom Brady's about to say here is going to define what Jalen does as well, just in general, in totality, as a great quarterback and the greatest we've ever seen do it from a mental side of the game. That's Tom Brady. Take a listen.
You got PFF grading you every week, like you were just referencing there before I came on. They're grading you. And now you go as a first-year quarterback, you barely know shit, and now everyone's telling you suck, and it takes a while to regain your confidence. You lose your whole fan base. We're focused on a physical skill. Tom Brady, too weak, couldn't stand in the pocket, if he gets hit, he's going to go down. Lacks a really strong arm. That was kind of bullshit. But what I really understood, the mental, emotional part, I could bring a consistent, competitive, winning attitude to the game every day, or to practice and the game. You
hear that? You hit to a practice, to a game every day. That mental edge, that mental competitive fire. Forget he can't throw and this and that. That's some of the stuff that was being said about Tom Brady. They were debating a proper timeline for quarterbacks when they entered the year. That's why the first part was about, hey, your first year this, and they're writing people off, and the fan base loses them. So they were looking big picture at some of these quarterbacks. But think about that. Isn't that, Jalen, how he shows up every day, the mental aspect of the quarterback? It's funny. We get enamored by Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Rightfully so. That Sunday Night Football game was incredible. Tom Brady, the best. And I'm not diminishing him here. He didn't look like that. He didn't look like anything like that. Tom Brady didn't look like that. Not like that. There's just so many layers to the position. And we got a dude who does it so unique. That's why I feel so confident heading into every single game, is because we got someone who's just wired differently. And I think that rubs off on the team. There was a time where A.J. Brown might be a little bit more bothered about maybe some of the reps and some of the snaps and this and that. He had 1,500 yards essentially in his first 2 years here. Last year was closer to 1,100, which I get it. He would like to have more, and their offensive numbers last year in the passing game in the regular season were at the back half of the 20, so they're looking for it to improve. He's been to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years and has a Super Bowl championship. He wasn't putting those numbers up in Tennessee. He was putting up worse numbers in Tennessee. He didn't have 2,000 yards in Tennessee and then came to Philadelphia. Now he's sacrificing his individual statistics. Like, this guy's going to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years, and also said he's not even fueled by legitimately winning the Super Bowl. It's just the drive of attempting to win a Super Bowl. You do that here. You do that here, because there's other nonsense being pushed about Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. It's not going to last. And I'm like, we're doing this? Now, I think there were times where it was reasonable to do it in the past when the whole BG stuff happened and all that, but not now. I think it's reasonable to point out that there needs to be more attempts for him to get going in the passing game. That's a lot different than spewing out that A.J. Brown isn't going to be in an Eagles uniform, because that's
Let me tell y'all something.
This said.
You will not see A.J. Brown in an Eagles uniform for too much longer.
James
As a receiver,
Jones.
you want to be involved.
Uh-huh.
As a receiver, you're not a running back.
Uh-huh.
So for the fans and the people out there.
Thank you for that, by the way. When you're a receiver, you're not a running back. Thank you very much, James Jones, for that knowledge.
Your football, no matter how many football games you play, you're always a little nervous before every game. So your football game does not start until you get hit, until you get a catch and get hit and get tackled. If you don't get a catch until the fourth quarter with 5 minutes or something left in the game, his game has never even started. He's not even involved in the game. He ain't even been tackled or hit. He's not even ready to play a football game yet. Let me tell y'all something. You will not see A.J. Brown in an Eagles uniform for too much longer.
Isn't that the dumbest take you've ever heard? And Cowherd expanded on something as well, like, look at Michael Parsons, and when he gets unhappy, he gets what he wants, and that's what these athletes do. If you're trying to compare A.J. Brown's current status, probably didn't have 96 yards in the Super Bowl that they lost, so something like that. Something like that. I'm just spitballing out my ass here. Okay, yeah, okay. And the Super Bowl. Yeah, okay. Been to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years and a Super Bowl champion. Okay. You can't say on one side of your mouth Howie Roseman is one of the best general managers in sports and then compare him to how they clearly botched paying Michael Parsons at the right time, not knowing how to manipulate the cap, not knowing the signing bonuses, paying people up front, cash flow, this and that, taking care of everybody, and then somehow say that this is the same thing as Michael Parsons, Jerry Jones in the Green Bay Packers. I mean, this is the type of nonsense that's getting thrown out there during week 1. It's not 9, 10, 11, 12 weeks of one reception for A.J. Brown. It was week 1 where the Cowboys did a good job of trying to stop the best weapon that the Eagles have. And then the Eagles do what they got to do, whether it's Jalen using his legs, Jalen scrambling. Because if you do one thing, then there's going to be something else that opens up. It's on the Eagles to then take advantage of that. Jalen took advantage of that with his great play. It's that simple. I mean, that type of stuff is asinine. I don't know how we got sidetracked into this conversation, but it was a hot topic yesterday in the streets. We'll go here because I want to throw something in super positive about Jalen. I don't know how we got so discombobulated with these clips, but to get back to Jalen and how unbelievable he is, understanding the game of football, here's Greg Cassell on the Ross Tucker pod.
I think that Jalen Hurts has an unbelievable understanding of what he is and how to play within that offense. I think in terms of intelligence, he's one of the smartest quarterbacks in the league. He literally, you never think about this in football the way you do with other sports, by the way, but he is a pure team player, Ross. He understands exactly what is needed situationally through every game in order for the Eagles to their offense to be efficient. You know, he threw for 152 yards this week. That's normal. In 8 of his 18 starts last year, he threw for less than 200 yards. That's not the way to measure Jalen Hurts and what the Eagles' offense is.
You're damn right. And for anybody who says, is it sustainable? Yes. Yes. What was he, 8-7 when he first got the nod? And then after that, it was about double digits. 14 wins. The 11-6 here, which was an ugly collapse, but I think that was organizationally. I mean, think about it. Matt Patricia, Brian Johnson, Jeffrey Lurie, and Howie Roseman had to sit down with Nick Sirianni and contemplate if he was going to get fired a year after having a Super Bowl appearance and losing to the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think Lurie wanted to do it, but knew it would be a bad look. So he stuck with him and said, we're just going to hand you your coordinators, to the point where Nick Sirianni, I remember listening to a press conference, he was asked, what is he going to do as a CEO if Kellen Moore has full autonomy with the offense and Vic Fangio's doing the defense? He said, I don't know, I might grab a chair and sit in the back of some of these meeting rooms. That's what the head coach said. That was an organizational failure. And I'm not going to act like the quarterback didn't have a role in that, but something sticky and icky was going on behind the scenes if it got to that point with Nick Sirianni. But to their credit, they responded with one of the worst collapses in Eagles history with the Super Bowl championship. That's what we got here. Is it sustainable? He doesn't throw the ball a lot. He's this, he's that. Yes, it's sustainable. Yes, it's sustainable. You don't accidentally go to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. That's not accidental. One Super Bowl appearance out of nowhere could be accidental. A miracle ride. Not this. They're going to win 12, 13, 14, somewhere in between 12 and 14 games this year. It's not accidental. So, yes, it's very sustainable. We're going to get back on track here because I got a few points that I want to hit on in regards to this game against Kansas City. But first, what I want you to do is close your eyes and think about it being maybe 9 o'clock Sunday night. The Birds are 2-0, and you get to go outside and smoke a celebratory Amelio cigar following a phenomenal effort by Jalen. Nick Sirianni, no, he's not going to go ludicrous and scream at fans under the tunnel. He just walks out and goes to the locker room like the pro and champ that he is. And you get to go out back and puff on a beautiful, outstanding Amelio cigar to celebrate the win. Old school roots, new school attitude, locally owned, 3rd generation, made at Fabrica Oveja Negra, Nicaragua. This is as serious of a cigar as you will find, and it is the only cigar to smoke. It is the best cigar to touch my lips. And do me a favor, if you are a cigar smoker, check them out. You are not going to want to miss out on how phenomenal Amelio cigars are. On their website, there's so many different options for you to choose from. And You can click the link down below, use the code BRODES10 at checkout for 10% off your purchase. If you like to go golfing with your boys, this would be a perfect little how do you do to say, all right, fellas, listen, Jimmy can grab the cold ones. I'll bring the cigars. You got a family party coming up. Hey, Sundays watching the game with your pops, with your uncle, with your family, bring the Amelio cigars. You can smoke them together afterwards. I'm telling you, if you enjoy cigars, you are going to fall in love with Amelio cigars, and you get 10% off your whole purchase. It's a no-brainer. Join the Amelio cigar family today. All right, so a couple of things that I appreciate. Special teams. I'm watching the Thursday night football game, and the Commanders were missing field goals left and right. Jake Elliott, to start the year off, making the kicks he needs to make, I think that's extremely important considering the ride that we took last year with him. Now, to his credit, when the playoffs started, he kicked it into gear, and he was what exactly you needed, but it was a journey, and it got uncomfortable, and there were some awkward spots throughout the regular season where it looked like he totally lost his mental state of the sport, and that was huge. And I think it's so important for Howie Roseman. Well, I believe Will Shipley had something to do with this and the injury, but Tank Bigsby trading with Jacksonville again after you got back Fred Johnson, you make a move to go get Tank Bigsby, and you get a chance to make a real impact on special teams in the return game. You're watching the new kickoff rules really impact the way teams are set up to succeed with their offense, and that's what Howie does, man. Like, every little detail matters. Every little inch matters. Seriously. Every little yard matters. So I think you're going to see excellence in special teams moving forward and a nice little spurt and an adrenaline kick from what Tank Bigsby can give you. And that combined with Jake Elliott, I just want to make sure that's highlighted. And the last thing here is Adoree Jackson. We were all bummed out when Vic Fangio made it known that he was going to get another start here. Think about their lack of weapons. This may be Vic Fangio saying, all right, dude, listen. Week 1 was what it was. Dallas does have some weapons to throw to. Okay. Who's here? Nobody. Juju? Nobody's here. If you're getting beat up by this offense with this lack of weapon, not Pat Mahomes being special doing the Pat Mahomes show. I'm saying if you're getting carved up against these receivers, you got a problem. This is your last hope. And I wonder if that went into the thinking. Once they saw Worthy go down and once they realized the Rice thing, we knew that in advance, but that was happening the way it was. We'll see. It's a big test for him. It's like, this is it. I mean, if it looks anything like last week, holy hell, you're done. That's my message to him. If he's listening. Which you can listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all your podcasting platforms as well. Not just YouTube. You can leave a 5-star rating and a review. It would help me out tremendously. Thank you so much. You guys are the best. With that, little all over the place this show, but it's a football Friday. I'm thinking about Eagles Chiefs. It's been too long, man. Been way too long since I last saw this team play. It's a blessing and a curse with that first game on Thursday. I'll take it any day of the week, though. No, we're Super Bowl champions. You know what I'm saying? All right. Go Birds. Talk to you on the next one.